Greetings, Earthling! So, family business. If you hear family business and think about La Familia, if you come to the small brewing village of Rettenberg in the Allgäu in Bavaria, it has a sort of kind of special aftertaste, namely the one of beer, because Rettenberg is the most southernmost brewing village in Germany. It doesn't get more southern than this. Southern comfort, so to speak. However, the local pastor claims to have found out that the Zötler brewery, whose Maibock we're going to talk about today, does not only exist since the dawn of time, namely 1447, but also since this time is run by by one family, so that the current head of the brewery, Niklas Zötler, now in his mid-30s, is the 21st generation to run this brewery. Incredible, isn't it? Think about a company that does exist that long and always being run by the same family. Sounds like a science fiction movie, I know. Born as the first male representative of his generation, counting the two shareholder families, his grandfather chose him to become his successor when he was born. So Pop decided, you gotta take it over one day, grandson. Is that a fate that can be avoided or escaped? Probably not. However, he says, Niklas, he never made it easy for himself and first had a look around about other things and then finally sort of kind of followed his heart. It might run in the family because his father before him was a tax advisor until he decided to take over from his grandfather. Back then, business was about to be taken over by one of the big industry companies, and he didn't want that to happen, so he wanted to stay a family business. So the call of the beer, as you might want to say, in the Allgäu is quite big in those rural areas. However, Niklas himself says he comes out as a passionate craft beer drinker who believes the craft beer in total has been good for the whole industry. I only can second that opinion because nowadays, even in Germany, the big industry brewers know that there is money to be made by good beer with decent taste, and we all profit from that. Somehow, actually, this opinion of Niklas is something that is exactly in line with the family, because his father, in 1995, became known as the can hunter of the Allgäu. That sounds like a science fiction movie too, I know, but it's all about the canned beer that back then was pretty cheap. And he said that the large beer corporations, the industrial brewers, were canning the overproduction, their excess capacities. They were canning those and trying to push everybody out of the market by ruining the prices, more or less. And back then he said something that nowadays is not as interesting as it used to be. He said that the back then Green Minister, Jürgen Trittin, who invented the can deposit, which is all over Germany, that someday the mid-cap brewers will erect a monument for Jürgen Trittin for inventing that can deposit. In the light of the actual political situation in Germany, that's, let me put it this way. Somebody had a vision. However, the family behind you can be a blessing and a curse at the same time, as we all know from various Christmas and family celebrations. You know what I'm talking about. So much the worse if you're the one who has to make the money in the family. Ask Vito Corleone about it. It can be an explosive mixture. Just like a beer mixed drink, which Zötler, the producer, recalled in 2020. I know usually cars get recalled for not working out correctly, but in this time it was bottles of Russ und eine halbe, something with beer and Coke, that the brewery said it could not be ruled out that some bottles still contained vital yeast cells. In other words, the possibility of secondary fermentation inside the bottle, which can lead to, what yeast does. On the one hand, it does alcohol in the beer. On the back end, out comes a gas. And so in the bottle, there could be a pressure buildup, which ultimately could lead to the bursting, hence explosion of the bottle, and therefore injuries. Have a look at the family business. It can be dangerous, I'm telling you. However, let's talk about let's cut the crap and talk about the Maibock. Yeah, winter is slowly but surely over, and the heavy and dark beers, which are not too cold, drunken don't want to taste as they used to while it was dark and cold outside. But never mind, because the lighter seasonal beers are coming back to the shelves. So the Maibock is a special variant of the Bock beer. You remember, Bock doesn't have anything to do with the little animal here. Whatever is on the label, it comes from a place called Einbeck. I talked about that another time. So, however, the Maibock, is when it's brewed less malty, so there's less malt used than in the classic Bock beer, but more hops. That makes the taste usually less sweet and less bread-like, if you remember, but a little more hoppy, sometimes a little bit more bitter. So usually special types of malt and hops are used. Let me put the noble types of hops, for example. But it depends on the brewery naturally. And sometimes even the maturation and the storage is longer than the usual Bock beer. So, to put it with the words of the poet, the Maibock is like spring should be, bright and strong. So, have a look and let's see if it's bright. I'm going to tell you if it's strong in a second. So, I can put some light on the ladder. It has 6%, which is a little stronger than usual beer is. And here's the bottle. Okay, amber color, orange, yellow, a little light amber maybe. And what about the crown here, the head? Yeah, that's white, nicely fine poured like it should be. Naturally, it's malty, but the malt isn't right there, and it's more in the background. It's more like, like wild honey. It has a honey smell, like a wild honey, and yeah, it definitely tastes like honey. Little malty, caramel. It's a little like a mixture of honey and caramel, like biscuits or something. Good beer, definitely. I would say about a 3.5 out of 5, maybe a little more. Don't drink it too cold. I know we tend to drink beer too cold, but you shouldn't do it because the honey taste gets lost. If it gets any colder than this, there will be definitely a loss of taste. So, thanks for watching, especially you, John, and go Tigers.